Tonight I'm joined by Matty G, regular guest. D Mac, first time on the show. I was on his show, I want to say last week. I don't know. I lose track of time. It's school holidays. We're going to talk about some news, the trade that went down earlier today, some hypothetical trades. This is Fantasy Basketball International. This is Balls Deep.
I hear something.
It's coming from below.
I think you've become mad.
Almost as if something is moving below us.
Act a little peculiar and you're an outsider. Perhaps you've always been mad.
We nerve this program to bring you a live broadcast from the once defunct but now resurrected lost arts.
Don't you feel it?
Brigham.
Welcome to the Balls Deep podcast, part of the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Adam King here, your host at AdamKing91 on Twitter. This is our regular Thursday show. Normally we don't do this live. We're doing it live tonight. Just thought we'd change it up a little bit. I've got Matty G. I've got D-Mac, NBA Fantasy Bible, Insight Fantasy Sports. Three Aussies. Now we've got out now. D-Mac.
Do you call anyone from Western Australia I'm just checking, time zones?
Committed to the cause, even with a COVID test, sitting at home, positive. He has his alcoholic beverage with him. So we're representing, I have Fat Pixie tonight. D-Mac has a Little Creatures, which is, for anyone not from Australia, it is a Western Australian local brew. They make a lot of very nice beers. And Matty G's on his rosé.
As
we'll
always.
see we'll see how that turns out. It's been sitting in the cupboard for a while. So, look, he's going strong on that. Now, boys, good to have you here. As I said, we're live, something a little bit different. Obviously, probably not a lot of Americans up at the moment, so we're probably getting some Europeans and some Australians, but it'll be recorded, of course. Now, I need to share my screen here so that we can have a look at my slides. Here we go. All right. Now, we're going to touch on the trade first. So this went down. I jumped on. I was on the Roto World show this morning, 6:30 a.m. my time. Rolled out of bed at about 6:15, straight into the show, and woke up to the news that the trade that we had heard the previous day that had been rumoured, the Pascal Siakam trade, had gone through. Basically went to script in terms of what we had heard was going to happen. Is what happens. Pascal Siakam to the Pacers, Bruce Brown to the Raptors with some first-round picks, probably not high first-round picks, probably looking in the 20s. They're probably the key pieces. There were a few other little pieces that were involved in the trade, but I guess we'll start with the Pacers side. So having a look at Pascal Siakam and Matty, I'll start with you. What are you thinking in terms of fantasy value for him with the move? Does he get a bump? Does he take a hit? How do we view this?
I don't know how much of a hit he takes. I think he needs to. It's hard to say because obviously he's got one of the best playmakers in the NBA setting him up consistently now. So Tyrese Halliburton obviously just statistically as well, profiles as an incredible playmaker. He's not around right now. I'm not concerned about the fit next to Miles Turner because Miles Turner is another stretch player or a stretch big, if you will. So look, I like it. I don't see him losing much of his early season range. For him, I think it's a good fit and I think he'll be a winner. But the thing is, he's going to be more engaged because I don't think it's any secret, D-Mac, that he was unhappy in Toronto. Kingy, he was unhappy there. So if you're happy going to your job, you're probably going to do better at your job. So I think we can see him where he's been maybe the last month and very similar average. It's probably just a slight drop, maybe increased efficiency is how I see it play out.
Yeah, look, as you said, he'll be happy. I think we're seeing that with OG Anunoby at the moment as well. He wasn't happy and he's looked better, more engaged, especially on the defensive end in New York, playing ridiculous minutes. I think he played 43 minutes or something today. So Tom Thibodeau in full effect there. D-Mac, do you agree with that? Any different thoughts on what Siakam might be able to do rest of season?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Matty there. I actually do think that his value will increase just next to Halliburton, who
I don't know if you saw the news as well. He's questionable for tomorrow, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's
really
insane.
short, insane. I have him in one of my important leagues, and I sort of hope that he doesn't come back that early from, I know it was a grade 1 strain, but it's just too early. But positive news. Positive news anyway. But Pascal Siakam next to him, I think it's going to be huge for Pascal. And he's been disappointing this season. And I think not having Fred VanVleet playing next to him and having Dennis Schroeder, who's an inferior point guard to Freddie, but then coming back and having Halliburton next year, I think that's going to be great for Pascal Siakam's value moving forward.
I think the three of us could play better basketball if we had Tyrese Halliburton on the same basketball court.
I think so. He makes everyone better. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think he probably gets a bump here. I think just the pace, the way they play, defense isn't high on their list of priorities, so he can just focus on playing offense. He's moving from a team where he's had to share the ball a little bit with your Gary Trent and Anunoby, who was there, Scotty Barnes. The Pacers don't really have any high volume, high usage guys. Even Halliburton, who is probably, if you had to look at all of them, he's the highest in terms of usage, but he's more than happy to go for 18 points. He'd rather be setting his teammates up. So, yeah, I think it's a really good move for Siakam here. Flipping over to the Raptors side and looking at Bruce Brown, are we thinking the same for him? Dan, I'll start with you. Do you think he gets a bump, or does he take a hit here, moving to sort of a crowded sort of situation in Toronto?
Yeah, I've seen both point of views in the last, or since the trade's gone down, but I actually think he increases in value. I think his minutes will increase. There are a lot of guys at the Pacers that similar style or similar position as him. I think that he's going to start and he's going to play big minutes. Obviously, he was looking really nice when Halliburton was out, just from the last 2 games, so increased usage as well. So I could see that translating across nicely. Yeah, you do have some high usage players with RJ, and you've also got IQ as well. But I think he'll fit in nicely. We've seen him play just the complementary style when he was at Denver as well. So I think it's going to be a nice fit all round.
Yeah, Matty, agree, disagree?
Yeah, look, I'm kind of just holding my thoughts on Bruce Brown, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been a little bit underwhelmed by him this season. Getting the bag to go to Toronto, to go to Indiana in the first place. I did think there was going to be much more from him. He's been in and out of the lineup, minutes up and down. He's come back from that injury though, and he's put together some really consistent. He missed a couple of games in the middle there, but like you said, DMAC, with him needing to take some more of the burden on for Halliburton, he actually has played just a lot better. I just think it's a win for Toronto as an organization. Let's see what Masai Ujiri has turned in Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby into. You just look at the first round picks that he's got, and players who are playing well, and the Raptors are playing together, and it's huge. So I'm kind of wait and see there. I think the biggest losers though, Kingy, I think the biggest losers here would probably be the whole power forward by committee over in Indiana, to be fair. I think that's the biggest losers. I'm talking Jalen Smith, the guy who I had hopes for, Obi Toppin. I even think Isaiah Jackson, he takes a hit. And I think Miles Turner could get a slight ding. But if this prompts him to be more interior and have his shot blocking go up, because it has been a bit down recently, then I think it's good for Turner. But, mate, I think there's more losers in the Pacers than there is happening in Toronto right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's all season it's sort of been just a mishmash of who are we going to roll out in the power forward spot. I think Aaron Nesmith probably starts now long term. He had been starting anyway, but they need him there for defense now, because they don't have a lot of defense. So I think he probably just solidifies as a 12-team back end kind of guy. But yeah, your Jalen Smith, Obi Toppin, Isaiah Jackson, they sort of just fall off the radar. I think I said to the guys this morning on the show that I was actually hoping Isaiah Jackson would go back as part of the trade, because if he went into Toronto now, there's no Jakob Poeltl. He could have played 30 minutes out of the gate and put up.
He would have been huge.
Top 50 value for a week or two. So
people have jumped on Chris Boucher today as well. Chris Boucher, with the wake of that, they've jumped on the Bouch rag quite quickly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that.
No.
People are welcome to do it if they want. I wouldn't be myself. The next little bit of news, and this is one that I'm particularly happy about, Markel Fultz. So he was out for, I want to say 30 games with his knee tendonitis thing that was going on. Came back 4 games ago. I think it's 4. The first 2 were pretty rough. He played like 13 and 11 minutes off the bench, did nothing, was probably dropped in a few leagues. Being stubborn and being so high on him coming into the season, I held him everywhere.
You would have. You would have.
And he's been okay the last couple of games. I'm going to bring up his box scores here, but still coming off the bench.
Today, you got 10 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 4 turnovers, 30 minutes played, 5 from 8 for 600 shooting, 23 minutes the game prior, 6, 5, and 7, no turnovers. And the one before that, like you said, he was just ramping up, like 15 minutes, 17, and 15, 13, and 17. But the last 2 are probably the more consistent sample size. It's also the same amount of shots in each game that he's been out there for 23 or 30 minutes. But the assists of, today only 1 assist, but 7 last game.
Yeah, Matty, I think the most important stat there was the 30 minutes today. I think that's ramped up, 23 in the previous, 30 here. I think Markel Fultz may not be fully back, but I think he is an ad, Kingy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's they're obviously going to be a little bit cautious with him, and I don't know whether he starts sort of soon. I think he will start at some point as long as he stays healthy and keeps trending up. I think he will move back into that starting role because they've been closing with him. The last couple of games they've closed with him. If you rostered him, if you drafted him, or you're adding him, you're not adding him for points. You're adding him for assists and steals. He's not going to hit threes. He's not really getting to the free throw line. I'm still a little bit cautious on his free throws because we saw in that first game when he came back, that little hitch was back in his shot. And so I'm a little bit worried about that. But look, he's trending in the right direction, and so I would be just adding him if you've got a roster spot. You need some guard stats. I think the trajectory is pointing in the right direction here.
Also, can you keep in mind that trade deadline's fast approaching? So who knows what could happen with the Magic? You've got Cole Anthony; he's also coming off the bench. You've got Anthony Black. You know, the guard position is pretty stacked there. So I think there could be a move there, and it could open things up for Fultz.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Another guy who's on the other end of the injury tail here, I suppose, Victor Zubac. So he was out questionable with calf tightness, upgraded or downgraded, however you want to look at it, to calf strain. Now he's out for 4 weeks at least. So obviously they did some sort of a scan there and they picked up that the injury was more serious than they thought. Yesterday we got a decent look at what the Clippers are going to look like without him there. Had a lot of questions. Are we adding Daniel Tice? Are we adding Mason Plumlee? And I think consensus was sort of probably Tice, just what we'd seen in the games before that. They were leaning on Tice a little bit more. They came out and said that Plumlee was being eased back in. He wasn't ready to play starters minutes yet. And then he came out and played 28 minutes.
28, yeah.
It was clearly the better option. And then I think we were talking again about this on the show this morning, and I think the roster rate for Plumlee went up significantly overnight. No surprise. What do you guys think here? Like, is Plumlee an ad in 12-team leagues, or is this a little bit matchup dependent? Is there going to be a world where they go a little bit smaller and Westbrook gets some minutes? Like, what are we doing here?
Well, I think if you're looking at having Zubac straight away, you're looking at what his stats and he profiles for you straight away. Like, obviously Plumlee is not as good as a free throw shooter as Zubac, but what you're looking for there is obviously someone to replace your field goal percentage, your rebounds, your blocks, and that's pretty much what you're going to be looking to buoy anyway. I'd probably say that we'd all agree that if we dropping a guy who we got Zubac in the first place, that's what we were getting him for. Like, we're not going after like a 20-point game. We're looking for rebounds, looking for good field goal percentage and some block shots on the back end of that. So I think that's where you can technically maneuver into a Zubac. There's other guys come back. Like Wendell Carter Jr. has also been another little bit of a sneaky ad in this whole center by committee and the Orlando Magic right now. Like, he's starting to get some more minutes. So he's starting to show with some more points and some more. He did like 17 points in 18 minutes today. It's like a bloody BBL, Big Bash, 20 overs. How many points can you get in as little minutes you want? You know what I mean? So I think there is other ads out there. I think, we need to keep our eye on the waiver wire and see who it is. But I don't know if you're looking for that, there's not a lot of centers that are going to give you that many minutes a game, especially with Pirtle being out. So there's going to be these guys being dropped. So I think the lesson we can get from this is that if these guys are being dropped and you're in a really good position, come week, it's 13 now, come week 16, if they're dropped, you could probably take a bit of an L for a week if you're enough in front and actually pick up a guy like Zubac for your run to the playoffs.
Yep. Dan, thoughts?
I probably would leave Plumlee on the waiver wire. He's not for me unless you are in a punt free throw type of build in a category league. Otherwise, he's not going to give you those blocks. For a big man, he just doesn't provide a high amount of blocks. I think he did get 3 in the last game, which is...
He did. That's like a week's worth of blocks for Mason Plumlee.
Right. Very atypical. So, and again, we don't know what's going to happen with Daniel Tice. They could switch it up again. Daniel Tice being in the starters would actually help Russell Westbrook, as we know. I'm not sold on Mason Plumlee, so I would leave him for someone else.
There's other options out there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's fair. Plumlee is obviously doesn't get you those blocks, gets you the rebounds, sneaky in assists. He can get you 3 to 4 assists from the center position, and he'll actually probably get you closer to a steal a game than a block a game. So interesting skill set. Free throws are pretty wild, hit or miss. He's one-handed now, so some games he'll go 5 of 6 and then he'll go 1 of 6. So very up and down. And we just got, I think there was word came out after the games tonight that Mark Williams is likely not to return anytime soon. So I don't think Nick Richards is available anywhere. He shouldn't be, but if he is, I don't know, the language here around this back injury for Mark Williams is not good.
It's not good.
So I picked up Nick Richards in a league, and I'm just holding him and haven't really considered dropping him at any point. So
it's classic Hornets reporting for you. But I actually pulled off a trade. I traded away Mark Williams in a keeper league. It's probably something I regretted because it is a keeper, but I can't keep them all. But I'm sort of happy with it. Yeah.
And I've also got a chat on the back of this. I'm pretty sure Brano might be watching from Insight Fantasy Sports, because the second that I mentioned Wendell Carter Jr.'s name, he just picked him up in one league on my phone that I've just had note of. So
there you go.
So shout out to mentioning Wendell Carter Jr. People just rushing to their phones the second we drop a name, being like, is he available?
He probably is in quite a few leagues. He would be, and he has had a couple of good games in a row. Minutes aren't there yet, but his production has looked better. So
it has.
Yeah.
And he's splitting the minutes with Goga, and they're both probably viable at the moment. Viable
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Now, this next question is not fantasy basketball related, and I did not tell you I was putting it in.
Oh, here we go.
No, good.
It is not a hard one by any means. How much do you love Vegemite? Because I'm on, if there's a spectrum of how much we love Vegemite, and there's those people that are just nuts and have it on everything, and those that despise it, I'm much closer to the have it on everything end of the spectrum. Is it a thing for you guys? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you have it on anything weird? I just thought, having 3 Aussies on the show, let's spend 30 seconds talking about Vegemite.
Vegemite.
Matty, is it a spread of choice in your household?
It puts a rose in every cheek, Kingy. It puts a rose in every cheek. I remember the old jingle from when I was a kid. Look, I like Vegemite. I'm in the education sector, so I go away on a lot of camps, and it's my spread by default when I'm away. At home, I'm a crunchy peanut butter guy though, man. I'm a crunchy peanut butter guy, but I do love my Vegemite. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I'll give it a firm 7 out of 10 for love from me.
Okay, all right. Dan, where are you?
I'm not as crazy. I'm a fan, and I grew up, and it's a weird one. I grew up in a mixed family of, Asian mother, Aussie dad, but Vegemite was still a favorite. My kids love it, but we aren't that obsessed that we're going to have it in every meal. Maybe we'll put it in a muffin, usually on the toast, and I'm not going spoon, and not going spoon-wise, but I'll do that with Nutella. So give me Nutella as my spread of choice.
Can we just go, though, with that, though? Can we just go toast or muffin? If you toast or muffin, in a heartbeat, which one do you, gun to your head, which one do you take, toast or muffin?
I'm going toast.
Oh,
hot buttery toast.
I could do a whole podcast on it. I'll go toast. But yeah, look, as I said, I'm on that end of Vegemite and everything, and I have it with some weird things. Like I have it with baked beans, I have it with tomato, I have it with salami.
Here's my Asian fusion. I've had it with noodles as well. How good is that?
I've heard that's a thing. It replaces like the saltiness in like the noodles in like the wok, right? That's a thing.
Give it a crack.
And if you, it annoys me when they have like you say like someone like a Hugh Jackman will take it on at one of those talk shows in America.
Oh yeah.
Here, taste Vegemite, and they taste it with a spoon. We don't eat it with a spoon.
Don't do it like that.
Does it like that?
It's a spread. It's a spread.
Yeah, it's the wrong way to eat it. So anyway, there you go.
I like the question.
Thanks, good question. Good plot twist. Oh, geez, it's me.
It is you. I'm just going to jump quickly. So we've actually got a couple of questions. Let's bring up some questions.
Oh, bring up the quick. Yeah, here we go.
Should I drop Mark Williams in my 14-team ESPN points league?
Yeah. Is it IR? Is it an IR spot that he's?
Yeah.
Austin, is it an IR spot that he's in? Because surely you're not holding him still. Like if you don't have an IR spot, surely not holding him.
I would, because even in a points league, I don't think he's. I mean, I don't have the rankings up in front of me, but I wouldn't think he's elite in a points league because he's really only getting you rebounds and 1.5 blocks, 12 points. I wouldn't think he'd have enough value in a points league to be holding, other than if you've got so no IR, he's just put in there. So yeah, I'd drop him.
I'll get him. Get rid of him, Austin. Yep. D-Mac, what do you reckon?
I'll get rid of him just because we're uncertain about the future, but he's still 77th, ranked 77th in points leagues, which is pretty crazy. You think of him being a big man, but yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, drop him.
It's likely that the Hornets all of a sudden one day he's just playing the next game after not knowing when he's going to play, because they literally just reported the other day saying he'll be back soon. And then to go to like actually he might not be back at all. We're likely just to have him pop up on a starting 5 radar in the next 2 weeks more than we are than anything else from Charlotte.
Yeah, it's classic Hornets though. That's what they do.
Classic Hornets.
They're very good at it. Who's the better option in a roto league? Dan, I'll go to you for this one. Tillman or Wendell Carter Jr.?
Yeah, I think Tillman's got the role at the moment. There's no real backup center to him. Wendell Carter Jr., there's a lot of trade talk, a lot of rumors around him. He's sharing the minutes. He does look good, but even when he's had a lot more minutes and he's had that solidified role for the Magic or even the Bulls before that, he's just sort of been mid. He's been a top 100 guy and it just looks like he should have a great fantasy stat set, but it hasn't really translated across to being a top 50 guy consistently. It's a tough one. Tillman will kill you on the free throws, and we look to have that. And I hope he doesn't kill me tomorrow because I've got him everywhere. I'm going to go Tillman for now, but just keep an eye out for Wendell Carter Jr., as Matty was saying before.
I think I go Tillman in a roto league. I just think he helps you across the board a little bit more. Wendell is probably more of your points and rebounds. That's it. Whereas Tillman will get you some assists. He'll get, what do you have, a 6-steal game like 2 games ago? So he can get you some steals, blocks, rebounds. As you said, the free throws, not particularly high volume, but can hurt you there. So, I think I'd go Tillman. And just with his role as well.
And Tillman's been the 68th ranked player in NICATs in the past week, and we can only really look at the last sample size for them as well. So he's, obviously he's, as you said, D-Mac, he's got the role there right now. So when someone has a role, there's the opportunity, and that's an opportunity for more minutes, more statistical profile, and the Grizzlies aren't going anywhere. So he's going to get his share, more so than Wendell Carter Jr. in the buy committee or, like you said, in possible trades.
Now, another couple of questions, but we'll just jump through our trades first and then come back to the questions at the end if we can. So this is so for anyone that hasn't watched, we've looked at the player ranks for the last 3 weeks. We've come up with a hypothetical fantasy trade. Who would you rather? This was yours, Matty, I believe, because you wanted a battle of the Jalens.
I wanted a battle of the Jalens. So in the show last week, I called it out earlier. I said, look, if this hot streak that they were both on continues, I want to see another week of it so I see where they finish up, because what we use is in the show as well, Kingy, and we should tell everyone we use the Basketball Monster player, like just this player averages and projections for the past season week, 2 weeks, and we look at the last 3 weeks. So we pull from the last 3 weeks and say, would we trade based on the last 3 weeks of performance? So I said, give it another week to see where it plateaus, because if you do it in a 1 week sample size, it just can look a little bit skewed. But still another week on, they've moved closer together. Jalen Johnson is the 32nd ranked player. J-Dub is the 35th ranked player. So now it's really become a much more interesting debate. Now, over the past month, JJ is the 38th ranked player, whereas J-Dub is the 24th ranked player. In the last 2 weeks, J-Dub is the 29th and JJ is the 55th. But for the season, even with the injury period included for JJ, he is the 36th ranked player and 49th overall. In the past 3 weeks, Jalen Johnson is averaging 16.4 points, 9.9 rebounds, so almost a double-double a game. Still 4 assists, 1.6 steals, including a monster, 5 or 6 steals 2 games ago. I know, because Brano, who I mentioned before, he was sitting on our waiver wire in a league when he was injured, and I was like, I'm going to do it today. I'm going to go and just going to do it when I stop driving. I'm going to pick up Jalen Johnson. By the time I got there, I went to do it. He had got him, and now I'm playing him this week, and that sucks to be his opponent. He's getting 1.6 steals a week, 0.6 blocks, 1.3 threes. His field goal percentage is 534, and his field goal percentage is just over 805. Jalen Williams, and this is weird. He's getting more points, 19.3. Rebounds, basically 5, 4.9. Assists, he was an incredible playmaker for a couple of games there. Those near triple-double games were insane by him. 6 assists, so 2 more than J-Dub. Less steals, so 1.6 versus 1.5. They're both at 0.6 blocks. He's getting 1.5 steals, and J-Dub's getting 1.3. That's probably going to change again after the next games from them. He's hitting 600 from the floor and 710 from the free throw line. Jalen Williams was a horse that I rode last year all through his ups and downs. I had him ranked as the 55th bank player in my own personal projections to begin the season. I picked up JJ on a waiver wire when he was dropped, and just bloody hell. In a team where you've lost Ja Morant for the season, it's nice to know that you got a JJ that's just helped pick up some of the slack that you lose when a guy like that goes down for the season. So my question is, boys, who are you taking? And I'm talking, you can even list this as a dynasty question. So this, I think, impacts what I think is one of the first real questions we can look at, not only in a category league now or a roto league now or a points league now, but in a dynasty league. Which one of these two guys are you taking? And I even heard talk last week that Jalen Johnson can be a top 30 player or a top 30 pick next year. So, yeah, tell me, boys, who are you taking in this one? Who wins this trade? Because it's tough.
I'll let you go, Dan. You can go first.
Yeah,
I know who I'm taking. So
I have a man crush on JJ. So I'm going JJ.
Okay.
He gives you the across the board stats, and it's just something to be amazed by. He hasn't come out of nowhere, and I've been riding him since preseason. We knew that with John Collins out of the team, he would get a significantly increased role. We've seen that. It's come to fruition. It took a while for him to come into the starters lineup, but it's looked nice, and he hasn't turned back since. I just think that Jalen Williams, there's a lot of mouths to feed, and yes, he's still thriving alongside of SGA, alongside of Chet, to a lesser degree with Giddey and Dort as well. But there's also those rumors around, look, OKC, they've got the stash, they've got the haul of draft picks. Are they going to bring in another star just to really solidify their standing as a contender this season and beyond? I don't know where the Hawks are going to go with trade deadline coming up. Supposedly everyone's on the trading block except for a couple of guys. I just think he's got a clearer runway, and he's one of the guys that are safe. He's not on that the trading block. So I'm going to go JJ just because I think there's less mouths to feed. And Jalen Williams, it's not a bad loss of a trade if you were to go on that side. But, yeah, JJ for me. Man crush as well.
Yep, I'm Jalen Johnson.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's close. It is a very close trade. Dynasty, I think it's just as close. I think whether you look at rest of this season or next 5 years, whatever, I think it's very close. Reason I would go Jalen Johnson is I just think if you read out the stats before, I just think Jalen Williams' efficiency at the moment is not sustainable. He's over 60% for the last 3 weeks, and he's not an over 60% shooter. Whereas Jalen Johnson is at 53%, and I think that is sustainable. And as Dan said there, I just think if DeJounte is traded, which it sounds like he might be traded at some point, we've seen some assists upside in the last few weeks from Jalen Johnson. So he keeps adding little bits to his game. Jalen Williams has that, obviously, because we saw it last year. He had some double-digit assists games. So we know that's there for him. Jalen Johnson, I feel like we're still uncovering who he is as a player. The Hawks moved off John Collins with no concerns at all because they had Jalen Johnson. I remember coming into the season, we were all pretty high on Jalen Johnson, and we thought is he going to break out? They announced that he'd be coming off the bench, and we sort of just stepped back a little bit and went, okay, do they view him the same way we view him? It took one game, and they moved him into the starting lineup. So for me, it's Jalen Johnson, but it's not a trade, I don't think, where if you were trading him away to get Jalen Williams, I don't think you're going to regret it. Like, I think they're going to be close enough that it's a wash. But personally, I would just go Jalen Johnson because of the, as Dan said, just that path to minutes and what his role looks like. Whereas the Thunder could look to add someone because they're pretty close to contending for a title.
They're very close to contending. They've just every time I watch them, like they're one of my favorite league past teams to watch. Like they're insane. And this is the thing with Jalen Williams, and this is what's put me on the borderline even suggesting it. And you said it, Kingy, like I don't think this 600 plus 600 is sustainable. I didn't think so last week. So I want to see where it plateaus. So he's been 620 for the past week. The last 2 weeks he's been 629. For the past month, the guy's been at 626.
I know. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe it bumps down to like 590, 580, 560 at the end of the day. So I don't know. I don't know if I should have a vote, but I think the majority wins there because my first love was J-Dub, but I've just been a big fan of JJ and I loved his thing. So I think JJ gets the win there, but I'm abdicating my vote because I can't vote on someone who won me a title. I can't vote on someone who won me a title, but I was just curious about the conversation. I'm going to take JJ too. I'm going to take JJ too. I can't.
Okay, so clean sweep.
And I was just going to go back to that as well, Matty. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but it feels like Chet has taken a step back in the last 3 weeks as well. So J-Dub has stepped up, and Chet's sort of not removed himself, but he hasn't been as prolific as earlier in the season. I don't know if there's correlation there, but maybe that's something to be mindful of as well.
I'm just always a fan of some guy who can get me across, like you said, across the board. But those assists, I love the passing game. I just love his vision on the court. So I don't think anyone's losing this trade. I think it's one of those trades. It's like let's call it the classic Kings and Pacers trade. Everyone's a winner. If you're in your league and someone sends you that, you're like, everyone wins. Everyone's happy. This one's interesting though.
And it is. And I do wonder if, so word or news came out earlier today, depending where you're watching, that Josh Giddey has been cleared. There's no case here, nothing, no punishment, no charges, nothing, which I think we sort of figured would be the case. So I do wonder, I mean, it's got to have had some sort of an impact mentally on him over the last
I think
month.
he's known. I think he's known that this was coming out as an announcement. I think his lawyers and people have some early word the last week because, let's be honest, Josh Giddey has seemed a little bit more perky on the basketball court more recently than he has for a majority of the season. Like just the body language of the bloke. Like the last couple games were a little bit down, but there was a couple really bright, shining games in the last week, just a bit more confidence in himself. And I just think this was coming. I think he's going to have a resurgence more than he has earlier in the season. Like coming up.
That could also impact that J-Dub. That's sort of where I was going with that, is that if he lifts his game and he starts getting a bit more engaged, maybe those assist numbers start to drop a little bit for J-Dub, but it's all speculation at this point.
On a side note for Giddey as well, I was just going to say, side note, it's good for the Boomers. I know it's non-NBA, but for the Boomers coming into Olympic year, that's awesome. He's going to pretty much be the spearhead. Patty Mills is aging, but still wonderful. But yeah, Giddey, we saw him at the World Cup. He's the spearhead for the Boomers now, so great news.
Hey, don't you be disparaging Duop Reith.
Well, hey, it's going to be a solid starting five. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, two guys that sort of play different roles, I suppose, in terms of where they are on the court, where they are in the lineup. This was yours, Dan. So I'll let you introduce the two players, and then we'll take some time to think about who we would go with, because it's a tough one.
I probably won't go through every stat like Matty, just because they are quite different in their stat set. But both of them first rounders, and they've been first rounders in the last 3 weeks, but also throughout the entire season. When you look at their ADP coming to the season, you knew that KD was taken about 11 or 12 at the back end of the first round, whereas Donovan was taken probably more early to mid second round, and he's really ascended this season, which has been awesome. But some of that possibly due to Darius Garland being out of the team for some time as well. He's due back soon, by the way. So perhaps some of Donovan's assist rate will come down as well, but still he's solidifying himself as a first rounder. We know that he's been on an absolute tear in the last week. This is Donovan I'm talking about. So Paris was a huge game for him, and he's continued that last night as well. So I won't go through the numbers. As I said, we know what we get with KD, just efficiency galore. But I will mention that Bradley Beal coming back, he's looked not off, but some of the usage has been taken away from KD as well. So take that into account. Perhaps Beal is just a walking injury as well. So I don't know where you guys stand on this, but I have a clear sense in my mind which way I would go, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Matty,
King, you want to go first, mate? Oh, me? Okay.
All right. Oh, no,
you go, mate. You go, because yeah.
I still don't really know. It's interesting. So I was just pulling up some numbers and stuff just to give myself a bit more of an idea. Despite the fact that they play very different roles on the court, their numbers aren't sort of egregiously different. Their points are similar. Their rebounds, their assists are sort of in the same ballpark. So to me, it would come down a little bit to statistical need here. So are you looking for your guard stats like steals and threes, or are you looking for some more blocks and field goal percentage? That might be the sort of the swing vote here. I would probably go Donovan Mitchell. Just durability is another thing that you sort of factor in here. Kevin Durant's a little bit older. He was good yesterday. I mean, the Suns had that wild comeback against the Sacramento Kings. But if you're actually watching that game, up until the last quarter, Durant was pretty quiet. He wasn't. His numbers at halftime weren't great. Beal has had an impact on him. So this is assuming Beal stays healthy here. I would probably go Mitchell, although in saying that, Darius Garland is very close to coming back, which will impact Donovan Mitchell. So it is a tough one, but I'm going to go Mitchell just.
All right, Matty.
When Kingy said who we were discussing, I did say that a couple of the players tonight I'm personally tenured to, and I always come back to the biggest question that Kingy, I know that you asked in the preseason. When you're drafting in the second round, who is the pick that you take in the second round that you think could retain your first round value? Because that's a big swing. And I went back to it, and I've taken Donovan Mitchell everywhere. I just took him in the second round wherever I could get my hands on the bloke, because I just love his upside. And in my personal friends and family league, I took him 19th in 7th pick in the second round. He has been everything I hoped for and more. He's a lot of fun to watch. The moment's never too big for him. And I know this sounds like I'm pretty much swallowing the lead straight away. I'm picking Donovan Mitchell only because of the durability factor, and just because there's been so much haphazardness with Kevin Durant over time that I don't want that, especially if I'm trading now in week 13 of fantasy with the stretch to the finals. And if he starts to rest some games and the Suns are looking good with Beal in the lineup and Booker in the lineup, he's more likely to have rest days. The thing that I could maybe see having an impact when it returns is Donovan Mitchell's percentages get better, because he probably gets some more threes that are open looks if Darius is cutting off the ball a little bit more, instead of having to be so like heliocentric. But he's also been really good with Jared Allen as well. So the way that he runs the pick and roll and the work with Jared Allen has been incredible. So look, I'm just taking Don, and I love Kevin Durant. I think he is the most elite scorer we've ever had in the league, man. But I'm going to take the Don because I took him in my leagues when I drafted in, and I'm riding and dying with my guy this season 100%.
I like it. His Don is good. Now, bear
His
in
Don
mind,
is good.
Evan Mobley to come back as well to that Cavs lineup
Huge.
later in the season. So that, he's a nice assist guy for a power forward as well. So keep that in mind.
100%.
But yeah, I love it. I love your takes.
All right.
You got to take one. You got to make a choice.
Yeah,
Make
you
a
gotta
choice,
pick
Dan.
two.
Make a choice. I had to.
Look, I'm in the same situation. I have KD, and I was watching that game yesterday going, geez, he's disappointing. He's meant to be my premier first rounder. Oh, God, I wish I had Donovan Mitchell right now. But yeah, that fourth quarter made up for it. Yeah, I'm in a similar situation. I'm trying to trade for Donovan Mitchell with my KD. So not quite getting there at this stage. But yeah, I'd go Donovan.
So I've gone with two point guards, two guys that I have shares in this season in more than one league. Fred VanVleet, LaMelo Ball. VanVleet's been pretty healthy this season. He's probably missed a game or two. I don't know off the top of my head, but he's been in there most nights. LaMelo has not. He's sort of repeated what he did last season. Production has been good when he's healthy, but just those ankles, they seem to be letting him down again. Yeah, look, a fairly close one. I think for me, it's clear cut, but I'm going to go and see what you guys think. So I'll start with Dan on this one. Any clear preference for you?
Yeah, per game it's LaMelo, but yeah, those ankles, you don't trust it. You don't trust Hornets. You just don't trust that organization. They're having a losing season. It's not going anywhere this season. Look, you want to play it safe sometimes, but you also want to shoot for the fences on occasion. So it may actually depend on how your team's looking in terms of health. But if all was even, everyone was healthy, I'd probably shoot for the fences and go LaMelo. Just that upside is there. He's a first rounder if you exclude turnovers, which I tend to do as well. I don't completely ignore, but I definitely disregard to a certain degree. Just that upside, and he is a first rounder. ADP said so. I think he's performing at that level at the moment as well. Perhaps he gets even better if or when Mark Williams does return. VanVleet, he's going to play more just with the Rockets doing so well this season. But in previous seasons, he's been an injury waiting to happen as well. He's rarely had a full complement of games throughout the season. He's looked much better and looked healthier in the last couple, which has been good. And I think the Rockets have a lot to play for. But give me the upside of LaMelo. It is risky and, it could shoot you in the foot. But, yeah, I'm going the upside play.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm tired. I took Fred VanVleet in a couple of leagues. Again, I look where I took him and what he's returning me. And I took him in one league with the 43rd pick overall in a 12-team league. Cool. And I picked him up then. I was like, he was the 7th pick. And I'm like, he's not going to make it back after this turn to me. There's no way. He's still sitting there now. And this is a guy who I remember last season in Toronto, people were taking him at the end, beginning of the second round quite easily. So when you see him drop outside that value, I picked him up there. And you always love the notifications on Yahoo when you see, Fred VanVleet has 12 assists. And your girls will be like, who's this Fred who's texting you? It's like you just see that with him so much. Look, LaMelo has been, in his 3 games back, has been nothing short of impressive, though. And look, yeah, you punt the turnovers, but Fred does them too. The field goal efficiency is never going to be there for LaMelo. The threes are there. The shot looks clean, actually. The shot looks just a bit more refined. I don't know, in these 3 games back, it's like he just did a lot of work in his downtime. I think LaMelo was obviously is the big upside here. But can I just say, what Fred VanVleet always gets me is his sexy peripheral stats. His steals, but his blocks. But LaMelo all of a sudden is getting 2, 3, and 5 steals a game out of nowhere. You figured out that you're really big and you can play defense. Well done, LaMelo. It's just taken a couple of years for you to think about it. So I'm probably going to take LaMelo in a pinch, but I am intrinsically tied to Fred VanVleet. But LaMelo's upside is still even better than what we've seen, and a fully healthy, fully engaged LaMelo Ball could do a lot better than this, and probably a lot better than Fred VanVleet. One's an all-star, one's not. There you go.
Yeah. For me, it's LaMelo. As I said, I have both, but to me, LaMelo's a first rounder. I'm going to die on this hill, I think, because the injuries keep mounting up, but his ability to come back in and just hit the ground running is like, I can't think of another player that can do it like him. Like his first game back after, what did he have off?
Stupid.
Like 6 weeks off. He had 28, 3, 5 steals, 3 threes. As you said, field goal percentage, who cares? Like they're just going to let him shoot
everything.
So,
everything. Take all of the shots. 24 shots 2 games ago. 24 shots.
Yeah, I just go upside here. Van Fleet has been really solid this year. He's sort of a fringe second rounder, I think. So I think if you, as Dan said, it probably depends on sort of where you are in the standings, what your build is like, because Van Fleet is safer. But if you can afford, if you've got a first rounder, like if you've got a Shea or someone that's or a Jokic, someone that's just providing consistent top 5, top 8 value every night, your second rounder was a sort of a hit. I don't know who you would have picked. Maybe you've got Donovan Mitchell as your second round guy. I would go LaMelo just because you can afford to take that risk.
Can I just ask, are you both curious on that? Because you did hit something which was really interesting. The both of them have been like blowout. Like actually, not all of these have been blowout games since they got back. But LaMelo's still played. In his game back, he played 26. And in the blowout, they were down by 30 points. He played 30 minutes, and he still played 30 minutes in the blowout to New Orleans as well. I think they're just going to showcase him as this is our guy. Like here's LaMelo Ball. He's been away a long time. Would you like to watch him play basketball for their season ticket holders at this point? Because if they're getting blown out and he's come back from his injury that much, you can play the guy 25, 26 minutes. But 31 minutes? It's a surprise.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. It's a good point. They need something to look forward to, I guess.
100%.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at his numbers before the injury, other than the game where he got injured, he'd scored 30 points in, 8 of 10 games or something. He'd had a heap of assists, a heap of rebounds, a heap of threes, steals, but he was getting 1 to 2 steals a game. So, for me, I swing for the fences. I go for LaMelo here.
Could be a wild theory, but maybe they're keeping him on the floor to showcase his mate Miles Bridges because he's a better player with LaMelo, and Miles Bridges is now eligible for trade. Yeah, wild theory.
Maybe. All right, so that's the trades. So some more good ones. I think they're always pretty close, whatever we bring to the table. As I said, there are a couple of questions. I'm just going to throw them in quickly because I know you have to go, Matty. You've got another show.
Take a while, man. I'll be a few minutes. We can answer some Qs.
So this was in that league with the Wendell Carter Jr. question. So the Mark Williams one. Sorry. So are we holding Mark Williams in a 14-team points league? Yep. Just traded Maxey and Franz Wagner for Shea and Jalen Green in that league. What are your thoughts? Shea is obviously the key piece here.
Huge.
I'm no points expert. If we had Kayla on here, Dan, she'd know this.
She would. Sure. She'd know off the top of her head.
She's the points expert. Thoughts on this one?
Shay's still a top 5 in points. Top 5 player per game.
And what Jalen Green is probably the one here that's because
points.
His points value is a lot higher than his category league value. So if you looked at this purely at the names, you'd go, well, no, you've given up too much. But in a points league, I think Jalen Green probably still has, I don't know what he is, he'd probably still be top 80.
I'll actually bring that up here right now. I got the hashtag basketball ones up here, actually, in points leagues.
104.
Points league rankings. 104?
Okay. He could be. Yeah, I'm not in any points leagues, so I can bring
I'm going to have to... Can I do by teams? Here we go. I can filter by team for you.
104 in the Yahoo points leagues.
There you go.
Not as high as I thought.
Okay.
No.
Shea would be a top 5, I would assume.
Shea is at number 5, yep.
Yep. Maxey is probably a top 20.
Yeah. He is 19. Great get.
Hashtag basketball has him at 104 as well, Jalen.
Okay.
Yep.
Franz would be
54.
top 50. Okay.
54,
54, yeah.
Okay, so it's because in a points league, you can really just add your points. You just go, this guy gets this many points, this guy gets this many points. So A top 50 and a top 20 for a top 100 and a top 5. I don't know. It's probably pretty even, but
Pretty even.
yeah,
Pretty even.
It is a 14-teamer as well, so you sometimes do look for a little bit more depth in a 14-teamer. I don't know. I still like going the better guy, so I'd take the Shea side.
Yep. Yeah, I'm fine with either side. So I think if you've traded away Maxi and Franz and to get Shea, then I mean, getting Shea he's arguably the number one fantasy player this season. So
100%.
This is not a question, but yes, it is good to see us doing it live and the koala emoji, very nice.
Good on you, Jonas.
We have.
Is it Jonas or Jonas? Jonas.
Jonas or Jonas out of Lithuania.
Wasada.
Dante 14-team cat hold. I'm assuming this is Dante DiVincenzo. I would say he's a hold. Yes. Would you guys disagree?
Agree.
No, he's a hold.
Disappointing game last one, but yeah, he's a hold.
Yeah. I didn't move him. I've got him, and I was bummed today, and I'm in a tight one. I'm not dropping him after that. He just had a shit soccer. But the thing was this, in 19 minutes he did that. He was crap from the field. He's been getting a lot more. Even his 24 minutes the other night, the free throws suck. I just wish he could hit more free throws right now. Like, that's the big thing. Oh, g'day, SMK.
Here's an interesting trade. SGA for Jokic. Can you go wrong?
Is triple doubles a cat in this one?
It doesn't say. Let's just assume it's standard 9 cat. I don't have either of these guys in any team, so I can't sort of speak from personal experience, but I'd probably, I don't know, I might go Shea.
Yeah, I don't know. Dan, you were about to give one. What do you say?
I'm still going Jokic. You can't go wrong with this guy. He's a proven guy. It's either way, it's great, but Jokic for me.
Yeah, I just think I'm there with Jokic. I don't know. I think, I'll say Jokic. I'll say Jokic just because I've won a league with him and I can't disparage him, but Shea has been one of my favorite players to watch this year.
Looking for a small forward, what are your thoughts on trading LaMelo for Scotty Barnes or Jason Tatum? I would, as high as I am on LaMelo, if you're looking for a small forward, I would take both of those guys for LaMelo, I think.
100%. Yeah, probably more Barnes with what he offers you. I'd say Barnes with what he offers you outside there. If you're looking to dump it because you've got those extra like assists or other things like that with LaMelo, and that's why you're okay to burn him in the first place, you could probably roll into Barnes, who's still a playmaker. But I mean, Tatum's the guaranteed first round pick all the time there in points. But with KP healthy, does take a slight ding. But it could just very well be Barnes' team now as well in Toronto. So I'd probably go for him first in your league, and then tactically move into Tatum if not.
Yeah. I think I would have gone Tatum yesterday. Today I might go Barnes. With Siakam gone, I think Barnes is just going to he's going to do a little bit more of everything because
Barnes season.
Bruce Brown he's not touching the ball as much as Pascal Siakam did. I think Barnes gets a bump because of that.
Well, follow up to that one, in a dynasty, who would you take out of those three? LaMelo, Tatum, or Barnes?
LaMelo for me.
Right. Yeah,
but again, I'm up on that LaMelo mountain riding solo probably. For me it's LaMelo. I don't know what you guys think.
LaMelo's the youngest as well, I would say.
Yeah, he's definitely the youngest. Oh, is he the youngest?
Or is he actually? Barnes was rookie of the year.
Barnes was rookie of the year 2 years ago.
Yeah. Do I have their ages here?
Yeah.
If I was, while you guys think about those with the ages, I'll read out this one from when you're ready. If I was looking to trade Kuzma, who would be a candidate? 14 team cat looking for defensive stats and assist. Oh, that's a tough one because it all depends on who the buyer is. So I would have to say when you're looking at making trades like that, you need to look at your buyers. And we've had this conversation, Kingy, a couple of times. Points a Julia Roberts in the red dress in Pretty Woman. They're not your cheap, guttery LA hooker on the corner with the knee-high boots. She's the pretty woman. Points is the thing that everyone kind of goes for. Yeah. You know what I mean? So people really are attracted to high points. So if you're looking for a guy who is in your league in any of your chats, been like, hey, looking for points and threes and some rebounds. Kuz is a good candidate then. And then you look at their team to see who gives you those stats, because really beauty as trade is in the eye of the beholder. So it's who's chasing that for you to get those things back. And that's what it really comes down to because it's such a widespread question, because they could be getting steals and blocks are also the two hardest things to predict more than anything else, because, there are guys who get them and they're the league leaders in them and they can be hard gets, but they're also, they're tough because you might stream in a guy like a Lou Dort and they might not get you any of either for a day because you don't know if they're going to steal the ball or block the shot, but they're going to get points. Kuz is going to get rebounds. So I don't know, man. Look around your league. Look at who's looking for those kind of cats that you could sell. And again, people who are keen to buy, making a stretch run, you'll probably be able to fill it up there more than anything else. Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm with you, Matty. It is hard just to give you certain names, but someone who's sort of in the same vicinity in terms of ranking recently, you could be looking at someone like an OG. Defensive stats, he's on the up, he's had the trade. There's some upside there as well. He's still not shooting the ball fantastically, but I think there is room for improvement there. He's not going to give you those assists, but if you're looking just for defensive stats, I think he could be a nice candidate. Maybe someone with assists.
Yeah.
Trey Jones. I don't know. I'm not sure about Trey Jones. I'm just trying to think someone off the top of my head, someone who's on the up.
Yeah, look, I thought name that instantly came to mind for me, who isn't valid anymore, but was Marcus Smart. He'll get you assists. He'll get you steals. Won't score. Yeah, as you said, Matty, points are easy to trade away. People are always looking for these big point scorers. Kuzma has flashed some assist upside. He's done bits and pieces this season. So if you could get any top 70 player back for him, like an
Kuzma,
OG, as you said.
And that's so funny you say that, man, because in the last 3 weeks, I just had a look, and Kuz has been the 69th ranked player in the last 3 weeks. So funnily enough, there's guys like Dante DiVincenzo, OG, is been the 58th ranked player. They're the guys with the two most steals in that area, Wenya. So they're in the similar ballpark. But you could also take a drop back if you're willing to. Someone like a Tyus Jones, perhaps on the same team, could be a bit of a shout, as well as someone like even a no one will give up Miles Turner.
No. 120th for the season, though. That's pretty disappointing. He had a hot start, didn't he, Kuzma?
He did. He really did.
But we've always known about his limitations in fantasy.
We have.
All right. There's one more question. Have you got time, Matty, or not?
Go for it.
Well, GG Jackson, probably another pretty popular pickup after last night, after what he did yesterday. Would you... so looking at him or Buddy Hield, but that's the basis of this question. Who would you rather have, GG Jackson or Buddy Hield?
Ooh, I picked up Hield. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. I picked up Hield for a back-to-back because the Pacers have a back-to-back stream for the next 2 days, and that's looking really good because I don't think these players play in the trade for the next 2 days. I don't see them rushing in. They might play the second game of a back-to-back. We'll see, but generally, I think they'll roll their lineups out and then wait for the Pacers to return would be my thoughts. They've got to change countries, for the love of God. So I love Buddy Hield for the next couple of days. I'm really happy to have him as a stream. I think GG Jackson has good long-term value though. So you're getting one game there if you're looking for a quick turnaround. I don't know what your league settings are, but for the next 2 days, love Buddy. But I think GG has a really huge launch pad. And Kingy, in your friends and family league, I put a bid on him that I meant to put a 3 in front of the 2 to win it, and I lost it. So I'm a little bit seething about not picking him up there.
Dan, what do you think? Like, is GG, because he was obviously very good yesterday. He got a lot of hype for that performance. Is he someone that's going to be 12-team the rest of the way? Or, I don't know. I'm not as convinced.
Hot ad. He looked tremendous. He was awesome. I think a lot of hype around him. I think he does have a runway to perform. I don't think he's going to shoot as well as that. And he popped off with, I think, 5 threes in that game. I don't think that's his game, but he does bring defensive stats as well. So something that Buddy Hield doesn't. Perhaps Bruce Brown moving away does help Hield even longer term, but with Pascal coming in, that's just going to clog things up as well. So a little bit to play out there. I'm going to play the upside game. I'm going to go GG because I've done that personally in one of my money leagues as well. Yeah, but I like Matty's point with Hield, with the back-to-back. Pascal will sit out one of those, well, the first one. Hallie probably doesn't come back tomorrow either. He'll probably come back the next game. Hield for the short term, GG for the long term, as Matty said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that back-to-back, that helps. I don't think, even though GG is he's going to get a path, he's going to be performing, he's going to be doing stuff. I don't like. Would you lose out by losing his spot as a streaming spot? I'm not sure. I think you're okay. Yeah. If you want to pick up Hield and then someone else picks up GG, I don't think that's going to sort of sink your fantasy season as such.
Especially when we know it comes silly season at the last month of the season when you can get GG Jacksons every other game.
Yeah.
Guys popping off left, right, and center. And by the way, B-Dub mentioned one question as well. Oh, thank you. When you B-Dub on Twitter put up, did you get that one there, Kingy? B-Dub himself marketing for Bane in a dynasty league. I'm thinking it's just about a wash. So just hold unless the offer sweetens. Yeah, I love marketing. But Bane is, yeah. I mean, this is what a shame of a season for the Grizzlies this has been.
Yeah, but I have a feeling if we think back 2 years or even last year, they were basically injury free the whole year. So is this just a perfect example of a team that has no injuries going to a team that has all the injuries and karma and the universe and all that sort of stuff balancing out. So, I just popped that up there. Good night from New Zealand. It is late in New Zealand. It would be 11 o'clock probably. Yeah. I feel like they're about 2 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast. I don't know. Yeah. Could be wrong, but I think that's about right.
Good night.
Sweet dreams when you.
Yeah. So that'll do it. Great show, guys. Thanks for coming on. Before we jump off, I do want to just acknowledge the passing of Golden State Warriors assistant coach Dejan Milojevic overnight. It was pretty shocking news. I woke up to the postponement of the game, and as soon as we saw that, you sort of figured this is serious. This is not just someone who's been taken ill. The game was obviously postponed. The Warriors and Jazz game, and I mean, perhaps they postponed their next game. It's hard to know. It's really hard to know how long. The circumstances around this whole thing were pretty full on as well. If you haven't heard, it was at a team dinner that this happened. So it wasn't sort of away from the players. They would have all been there when it happened. So pretty traumatic. So thoughts, I guess, go out to the Warriors and his family and the other coaches and that sort of thing. So I just thought I'd pop that in there before we head off for the night.
Good one, Kingy.
Sad loss. Yeah.
So, Matty, you've got to head out. What have you got coming up on Inside? I know you've got your plethora of shows happening at the moment.
Jeez, plethora. Yeah, we've got I've got the Chase Down coming up with Matrix from Inside Podcast Network and the Insight Fantasy Sports coming up in about I'm 8 minutes late for it. So we'll be recording that, and that'll be up there in about 3 hours' time live across the globe on YouTube and Spotify. So just check out Insight F Sports on all your things and get the latest one. We've got Alex Reclean jumping on Saturday morning we do a live show every Saturday morning called Heat Check, and I sit down with Skitty, who you know well, Kingy, and we do basically a weekend chop up of the games to come and how to attack your weekend and have coffee on our belt. We literally do it live on a Saturday morning over coffee and some Vegemite toast. So we do it and we chat the games and we get the latest updates live before tip off and we give them out live. So make sure you like and subscribe, get the notifications on Twitter for Insight. And yeah, mate, that'll be it. What about you, D-Mac? What do you got coming on the cards, brother?
Yeah, Sunday night filming with Kayla Fonte as well, doing our Between Two Hoops show on our regular. Also due to have another appearance with the Head 3 Head crew as well. So NBA Fantasy Puppy as well. So got to get back in the swing of things on that one. But yeah, give us a follow, NBA Fantasy Bible on Twitter, also on YouTube as well. But thank you guys for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's always a fun show. I think this will be our regular thing going forward. We seem to get a bit of engagement there where there were some people watching. So we'll probably continue to roll this out on a Thursday night. We've got our Saturday. Actually, we're going to be recording that on a Friday afternoon live now with Mike Fiddle, looking at the weekend, streaming. What are we doing? Who are we picking up? And then we'll have a Monday show before games tip off, looking at the week ahead. I'm going to have Alex Reclean on, as well as a few other guests. So
He's such a good lad, isn't he, Alex Reclean? He just jumps on everything. He's such a good guy.
He does. I know Alex pretty well. We've worked together at RotoWire for a number of years. I met him when I was in Vegas a few years ago, and when I was in Boston a few months ago, met up with him again. So, yeah, Alex is a great bloke to have on. Always willing to jump on the show.
Mate, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning live with him. He just actually was at the Boston Celtics game with Wemby. So I want to get his thoughts on seeing Wemby in person on Saturday morning. That's going to be huge.
Yep, he will certainly have an opinion. Actually, if you jump onto a chat, get in a chat, and before your show, tell him to wear his Blake Griffin jersey, because he bought a Blake Griffin authentic Celtics jersey for $20 and talked me into buying one as well. So tell him to wear his Blake Griffin jersey.
I'll message him right now.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, thanks for coming on, boys. That will do it for tonight's show. Remember, all of our content is over at fbibasketball.com. We're on YouTube, obviously. We're on Twitter now, apparently. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thumbs up, subscribe, all of that stuff. That would be great. Until next time, catch up.
See you guys.
You just listened to another episode from the Fantasy Basketball International Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. And for more information about joining our community, please check out our website at fbibasketball.com.
Cheers so much.